So, how do you teach someone about the dangers of desire? I mean, a real lesson. Do you just give them a lecture? Or do you make them the star of a shocking, elaborate test involving a 120-year-old woman and, believe it or not, an axe? Today, we are diving deep into a Buddhist Jataka tale that does exactly that. Okay, let's start with a puzzle. Imagine you're the top student at the most prestigious university. You've aced every single class. But then, on graduation day, you're told it's all completely meaningless until you learn one final spell. A spell that, well, doesn't actually exist. This is the bizarre mystery that kicks off our entire story. But this isn't just some strange fairy tale. It's what's called a frame narrative. Basically, a story within a story. And it's being told for a very specific reason. And it all begins not in the distant past, but with a monk who's wrestling with a very real, very human problem. So here's the setup. We're at the Jetavana Monastery, and there's a monk who is just completely overwhelmed by lust. The Buddha sees this, and he knows that a simple talk isn't going to cut it. No. Instead, he reaches back into one of his own past lives to tell a story so visceral, it's designed to literally shock the monk out of his attachment. And with that, the Buddha begins his tale, and we're transported back in time. This is where we meet the main players and the central riddle that's going to drive this whole thing, the Asatamanta. Our hero, if you can call him that, is a brilliant young Brahmin student. He studied everything you could possibly learn in the famous city of Takasila, and he did it under a legendary teacher, who, it turns out, is actually the Bodhisattva, a past incarnation of the Buddha himself. The student is all set, ready to head home, thinking his education is complete. But when he gets home, expecting a pat on the back, his mother stops him cold. The Asatamanta, she says, "You didn't learn that?" She tells him his entire education is completely worthless without it and sends him right back to his teacher. The student is confused, of course, but he's obedient, so he turns around to go learn this one last mysterious spell. Now, the teacher, being the wise bodhisattva, he gets it immediately. He knows there's no such thing as an asatamanta spell. He figures out that the student's mother wants her son to learn a harsh lesson about human nature. So he agrees to teach him, but this lesson is going to be a deeply strange and uncomfortable practical exam. The student doesn't find his teacher back in the city. He has to track him down to this remote little hermitage deep in the forest. And there, the teacher is living a super simple life, dedicated to one thing, caring for his own mother, who is an incredible 120 years old. To learn this supposed spell, the student is given a very strange set of instructions. He has to take over all the care for the teacher's 120-year-old mother. We're talking everything, bathing her, feeding her, massaging her frail body. But here's the truly bizarre part. While he's doing all this, he has to constantly praise her beauty, talking about how lovely she must have been in her youth. And the final rule? Report every single word she says back to the teacher. So this student does exactly what he's told. Day in and day out, he's caring for her and praising her. And with all this flattery, something begins to stir in the 120-year-old woman. You guessed it. Despite her age, all that praise awakens this powerful, lustful desire for the young man who's taking care of her. The lesson is starting to take a very, very dark turn. And this brings us right to the story's climax, where the real purpose of this strange and deeply uncomfortable test is about to be revealed in the most shocking way you can imagine. The mother finally makes her move. She propositions the young student. And when he's horrified, reminding her that he serves her son, she gives him this absolutely terrifying ultimatum. Her desire has grown so powerful, so all-consuming, that she is willing to have her own son murdered just to satisfy it. The student, completely terrified, runs and tells the teacher everything. The teacher, though, is calm. He's prepared. He sets this grim counterplan into motion. He carves a wooden dummy, a mannequin, places it in his own bed under the covers, and then tells the student to give his mother an axe, saying tonight's her chance. Okay, now it's really important to know the teacher isn't just setting some cruel trap. The story says that he has foreseen that this is the very day his mother is fated to die, no matter what happens. This whole bizarre test is designed to let that fate play out while teaching the student an absolutely unforgettable lesson about desire. So in the darkness of the hut, the old woman takes the axe.
She creeps over to her son's bed, raises that weapon, and brings it down with all her strength on what she thinks is his neck.
And in that exact moment, a voice just cuts through the silence. The teacher steps out from the shadows, revealing the whole deception.
The realization of what she just tried to do and the shock of being caught red-handed is just too much for her. She collapses right there on the spot and dies, fulfilling the fate that the teacher had already foreseen. With the tragic test now complete, the real lesson of the Asatamanta is finally ready to be explained. The student is about to understand what his mother really wanted him to learn all along. The teacher explains it all. Look, he says, there is no magic spell called Asatamanta. The word itself refers to something that is not satisfying or disagreeable. The Asatamanta, that was the lesson. The entire brutal, hands-on experience was a demonstration that desire knows no limits. It doesn't care about age or gratitude or even family ties. It is a fire that, if you let it, will consume everything. Armed with this pretty brutal knowledge, the student goes back to his own mother. When she asks him if he finally learned the Asatamanta, he recites a verse. And his conclusion, based on what he saw, is that unchecked desire is just like a fire that burns up everything in its path. Good, bad, sacred, it doesn't matter. After witnessing firsthand the most extreme possible consequence of desire, the student's path becomes crystal clear. He has zero interest in getting married or having a normal life. He renounces the world entirely, becoming a hermit to seek a life of solitude, meditation, and freedom from the very desires he now sees as so incredibly dangerous. And just like that, the Buddha brings the story back to the present day. He reveals that the student in that past life was none other than his disciple, Ananda, and the teacher was, of course, himself. After hearing this visceral tale and truly understanding its lesson, the monk who had been struggling so much with lust is shaken to his core. He finally sees the nature of his own attachment, and in that moment of insight, he achieves enlightenment. What a story, right? It's shocking, it's extreme, and it is definitely using hyperbole to make an unforgettable point about the destructive power of attachment. And while the details are ancient, the core lesson leaves us with a question for today, for our modern world. What does the story this intense reveal about our own desires, our ambitions, our wants, and the things we pursue, sometimes at any cost? That's something we're thinking about.